Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So the other woman on the Sam Seder show attacked somebody who was closer in my sandbox than they are. He essentially pulled himself off the tit of Seder in order to have a go at Jimmy Dore. Now Jimmy Dore said something about him, and it was more about his policy position, meaning Jimmy Dore thinks that his political position is stupid. He thinks they're idiots. Um, so let's hear what he has to say. Anybody can attack anybody, but let's see what he has to say. Let's see if he's right in his rebuttal to this. Um, and by the way, just because I'm calling this guy the other woman, this is not me completely throwing this guy off the reservation. I think what takes place is this idea between reform versus revolt. Like you have some people who look at the world, says the world is fixed, nothing can be done, we have to work within the system the way it is. Vote Hillary. Vote Hillary. You have other people saying, no, you need to pull yourself out of this particular political context because you're giving this particular thing energy. You're enablers. I use the term of being, associated with a crack addicted crack addicted alcoholic. And it's like, yes, honey, I'll give you lunch. Yes, I'll give you dinner. Yes, I'll give you. And when you try to leave, you have nowhere else to go. You're, a slob and everything else. And these guys, people like Sam Seder, people like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, these people say, you're right. We have nowhere else to go. Okay, honey, what do you need? What do you need? They took water. Now, the catch here is, if you ask them, if you put a head in a jar, and you say, what do you want the world to look like? I would almost guarantee you that what they would come up with would look similar to yours. I would almost guarantee you. The issue here, and it's almost like you have to divide these two things. This idea of what they want the world to look like, the end result, versus what are the methods that you need to take in order to get to the world to be that way. That's the dichotomy. That's the issue here. So they would agree with you in one political space of, this is what I think the world should look like. They disagree with us in the other political space of, do you want to reform it or do you want to change it? Jimmy Dore's main point here is that hasn't worked. Your reforms haven't worked. The situation has gotten worse. It needs to be fundamentally changed. You need to pull yourself out of the political space in the way that you've been functioning. If you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always gotten. For some reason, you believe that if you continue to do what you've always done, magically, the situation will somehow change. Just from a magical standpoint, this fantastical religious thinking. Jimmy Dore's, that's the thrust of Jimmy Dore's argument. This needs to change. Something fundamentally needs to change. And what that is pull yourself out of the political space. Pull yourself. Stop enabling, stop voting for these guys when these guys are not representing your interests. That's Jimmy Dore's main and the thrust of the point. Now, all of this gets put into this glorious moment of them voting for Hillary Clinton and Cenk Uygur telling his audience that they should vote for Hillary Clinton. The point here is, no, you shouldn't have. No, that's bad. Even from a strategy standpoint, even if when he's using this term strategy, he's bastardizing that term strategy. Because even from a strategy standpoint, what you're talking about fails. It exponentially fails. Entirely fails. It is utterly wrong. He's going to call Jimmy Dore dum-dum here. Jimmy Dore is not the dum-dum in the situation. He may be inelegant at points when he's trying to get it across, but he's not the dum-dum. And one last point. This is not be disparaging women either. There's nothing inherently right or wrong with being a man or a woman. There's nothing inherently right or wrong with being anything. Those things are just human conceptions. We add stuff to the world. My disparaging him is it's contextual, if that makes sense. There's nothing inherently wrong with being a woman. I'm saying, though, that from a context standpoint, from being a guy's perspective, there's aspects of our culture that are built into us, just from the aspects of the culture itself, these things that are thrust upon us, that we take on as being truisms. Even though they're purely cultural, they're still there. Machismo, manliness. I'm making the point that the thing that we give to manliness, this distinguishing characteristic between men and women, yes, there are multiples, but one of the key distinguishing characteristics is Sally goes into one bathroom and Todd goes into the other. their genitalia. I'm saying that these guys, the other woman here, his balls are in a jar, along with Sam Cedars, along with Cenk Uyghurs, along with Anna Kasparians, along with a lot of other people who, despite wanting the world to be a fundamentally different place, have no end goal in getting to that place under the context to which they operate. And yet they can continue to operate in that particular context. Their balls are in a jar at the Democratic Party's headquarters. That's what I'm saying. Or Anna Kasparian's vagina in this context is in a jar at the DNC. That's the point. That's my disparaging joke against him and Seder and whoever else is on that show advocating and arguing for why people should have voted for Hillary Clinton. Let's take a listen to this point. You make your own decision. If I disagree with anything in this, it's Jimmy Dore saying they were dumb. I would say it was cowardice. And yeah, maybe it was stupid too, because they believe they're going to get a different result by doing the exact same thing they've always done. He's going to dress it up in these glorious terms of strategy and all this other stuff. It is utter cowardice. Just take a listen to him. You make your own judgments, but that's my perspective of it. Let's hear him out. I'm going to play his whole video. The video is kind of long, but I'm going to play his entire video. He's going over multiple things that he's trying to hit Jimmy Dore on. And we can talk about it after each of these items. Yeah, let's wait. Let's hear him out.
We need to keep it as simple as it can be, but not simpler than that, unfortunately. So this left needs to be smart, it needs to be radical, it needs to be strategic, and it needs to be brave.
It needs to be left. It needs to be, what do you say? It needs to be strong. It needs to be strategical. It needs to be brave. It needs to be radical. It needs to be brave. And it needs to vote for Hillary Clinton. It needs to get out there and vote for Hillary Clinton. Be radical and vote for Hillary Clinton and putting other Democrats in offices. To not do anything on the agenda that you yourself will want to get accomplished. Vote Hillary. I love the way they're casting this. This is a brave choice. Be radical and strategic and vote Hillary. Okay, let's hear about it. Yeah, I'm hitting him in the knees here early on this because there is nothing brave in voting for Hillary Clinton. There is nothing brave in towing this Democratic Party narrative, especially when I actually believe that you want to be on the left. Meaning I actually believe that the things that you want in the world are similar to the things that I want to take place in the world. But you should not use brave, and you should not use the term radical in the conversations that you're having. Let's keep going. Let's hear him out.
Now, speaking of this, and this is totally unprompted, totally random transition, didn't plan this at all, just happened. There was a recent leading dum-dum on YouTube occurrence that may have in fact related to me and this show. So this is totally unprompted. Matt just brought this up right before the show. It's totally unprompted. We came across this piece of dum-dumism.
And if you ever heard people saying, I heard someone say the other day, now, especially with the DACA people, they're being, their lives are being, 6-year-old, brought here as 6-year-old kids, and now that you should have voted for Hillary. Someone actually said that on a news show the other day. So you should have voted because of DACA. How dumb could you be? Pretty dumb, by the way. Still defending voting for Hillary, even though it was Hillary who propped up Donald Trump. She completely rigged the primary to screw over to make sure the only person who could lose to Donald Trump lost to Donald Trump. That's what Hillary, and you still want us to vote for the person who cheated us out of Bernie. You still want to vote for the person who completely got us Donald Trump.
That's all that matters.
You think we got Donald Trump?
Did you hear what he said? He said, that's all that matters. Jimmy Dore is making this point of, they cheated you. Like the guy who you wanted, they cheated you. They subverted democracy. They literally injected themselves into the process to rig it to the candidate that they wanted, who they selected. And they looked at you knowing that you knew that they cheated, because WikiLeaks put out this bombshell that, yeah, you're right. If it looks like you're being cheated, you are being cheated. And this guy's like, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. It should matter a big fucking deal to you that they're willing to subvert democracy. And it should If there's any level of machismo left in you, this idea that, yes, we understand that you cheated us, but at the exact same token, we're willing to bend our knees, bend our heads. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're co-signing cheating. Do you understand that? Like literally co-signing cheating. Yes, we understand that you cheated us. And look, I don't even know the arguments they make to this, whether they even accept that the election was rigged. I would imagine just like Donald Trump or being a Republican. It's difficult to accept things when those things make you look really bad. But whether they accept it or not, the bare bones reality is one of the parties cheated one of the candidates. And you had a lot of people who were willing to say, yeah, you're right, you cheated us, but okay. Okay. Is this being radical and brave? Is that what this is? Being radical and brave? Yes, you cheated us, but okay. That may not be all that matters, but it should matter a big fucking deal to you. And especially not to be on the video saying, that's all that matters, that's all that matters. Like it doesn't really matter to you. It should matter to you. I would guarantee it matters to your fucking audience. Let's hear them out.
Because everybody loved what the fucking Democrats were doing? Because everybody loved how Barack Obama handled shit? Because everybody loved how Bill Clinton handled shit? No, we got Donald Trump because Democrats got in power and fucked everybody over, you dummy. And if we didn't get Trump this time, we were going to get a worse Trump next time. Because your inability to think past one election cycle is why you're a dummy and no one listens to you.
A worse Trump.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. People still saying that with a straight face. See, because of DACA, this is why we all should have voted for Hillary.
And
well, you all did fucking vote for Hillary. I don't know if you noticed that. And you could have actually voted for a third party and made a difference with your vote, but you didn't. You voted like a stupid corporate neoliberal. You did the lesser of two evils.
Well, it's been come to my attention that apparently this guy, and I will use his name and his clip, Jimmy Dore, was talking about me. I was on the Young Turks a couple of weeks ago, and in the context of talking about DACA, I said, yeah, this is why you engage in strategic voting, because of the several million DACA recipients who are jeopardized now.
You know, just to be clear, it's not even strategic voting. I mean, this is not. Jimmy Dore is right. You don't look beyond one election cycle. Do you honestly believe that there's always going to be something there's going to be at stake, something in jeopardy? Republicans are maniacs. Them being maniacs allows Democrat to be these kind of, what would be conservatives in every other country. Republicans are off the fucking political spectrum. There is always going to be something. So this argument, this strategy, I don't know what the strategy is, but the strategy is essentially putting in one Democratic hack after the next, after the next, after the next, in order to hold back the night. You believe you're holding back the night. All the while, that night getting closer and closer and closer with the Democrats that are being put into office, just because you're trying to hold back the night. Again, Dore's not wrong on this. He's not wrong on this. This guy's calling it strategic voting. And he's kind of missing this kind of point of, there's always going to be something. Social Security is always going to be on the line. Medicare is always going to be on the line. There's always going to be something on the line. In this case, you have DACA recipients who are on the line. And Democrats have viewed these kids as this kind of political football. And you fall in line. You play this game. I don't want DACA recipients kicked out of the country. And it's very possible that Trump is going to end up doing something about DACA recipients. I don't know what the price is, but hopefully, the issue will be settled. The point that Dore is making, and I think the point that I'm making, or at least I'm trying to hit at, is there's always going to be something. And because there's always going to be something, you're in your particular mind, in your idea of things, you're perpetually stuck in the situation of needing to protect something. And so you believe that the person who's going to protect it is that particular random Democrat. So you believe that you're stuck in this game after game after game of voting for a Democrat. The point that Dore is making, and the point that I make, and the point that a lot of lefties make is, there's something to be said of saying, no, I'm not playing this game anymore. Now, your crack-addicted, drug-addict husband, boyfriend either croaks or he gets better, meaning he does something different. That is a better strategy than persistently voting for the exact same thing over and over and over and over again, and being on your show year after year after year after year, talking about strategy. Strategy. Let's hear him out, but just want to make that point.
It's pretty simple. And as you could see there was a lot of bloviating. He didn't actually answer that question. He says this kind of emotional fixation on Hillary Clinton. But look, apparently I'm a dummy. And I guess I talked like I didn't realize, though, that I said, and this is why I got to vote for Hillary Clinton. I got to check my TYT appearance to see what I was talking like. I know that Jimmy's not an impressionist, but maybe he was trying to get something there. But look, this is Jimmy's Twitter handle, where there's a lot of tweets about, dumb things that Barack Obama did and said. There's a lot of tweets about how horrible Hillary is. There's a lot of tweets about, how garbage a lot of garbage liberals are. Very little to do with, the people that are actually running the country right now, which is sort of interesting. If you're sort of like in the news and politics business and you barely have anything to say about the president of the United States, who's actually a far-right corporatist.
Neoliberalism is one thing, but galloping fascism, maybe spare a thought for it.
Yeah, maybe spare a thought. And
There's another woman. That's awesome. There's an other woman. That's awesome. Look, the point they're trying to make here is Jimmy Dore doesn't talk enough about. He doesn't bash Trump enough. This guy doesn't bash Trump nearly enough. It's like you should spare a thought for the fascist far-right president. Everybody else does that already. Why does he need to do that? Particularly when you think that the problem in this picture is the Democratic Party. If you believe that you look at this political space and you say Republicans are off the fucking reservation, they would never come to any kind of idea, meaning my idea of the world, my idea of things. The party that's supposed to do that, who at least gives voice to this stuff, is Democrats. So if you believe that the problem in this is the Democratic Party, then that's who you're going to go after. You're trying to break this myth that Democrats are your saviors and Democrats are the people who are here to help you and all this stuff. Yeah, that's the myth that you're trying to break. You're trying to get across this idea of no is an answer. No. Democrats, Republicans, none, neither. Neither of these two. The problem is both. The problem is not one or the other. That's the point that Dore gets at. You have MSNBC attacking Trump. You have CNN attacking Trump. You have your network attacking Trump. You have TYT attacking Trump. Do you really need another network? Do you really need another voice attacking Donald Trump? I think you guys have it. You're good. I think he's good. I think he's good where he is. I think he's good where it is. It's like you have all these other industries attacking Trump. It's like he's not attacking Trump enough. I think that's interesting. It's not anything. What the fuck is it? Define it for me. Give me your explanation of why you think that's interesting. I don't think it's significant of anything. But whatever. He thinks it's interesting. Okay. Let's hear up.
Actually, in fact, voting for a garbage candidate like Hillary would have actually been great, because then we still would be in a position where neoliberalism was the main issue. Unfortunately, now it's not. But the top of this Twitter, of Jimmy's Twitter feed, he has
Did he just say voting for Hillary Clinton would have been a great thing and we still would have been going against a neoliberal? Yes. But again, you fundamentally miss his point. And I can't tell if you're missing his point intentionally or you're missing his point just because you don't see his point. Either way, I would explain it. You have a two-party system. In that two-party system, you have one party that is over the top, off the political spectrum on the right. You have another party that's over the top, off the political spectrum on the right. With the one added difference between those two things is that the one party that's over the top, off the political spectrum on the right, they're not off the political spectrum. I'm sorry, that's not fair. A right-wing party in any other country, including the UK. The difference is that party espouses certain values. That party says certain things that party does not, in fact, live up to. If you're going to continuously give your support to that particular party, even though that party is not representing your values in any way, you're running to that party as if it's your savior. It is not your savior. That's Dore's point. That you're still getting those things. They're putting up these guys because they know that you're stuck in a two-party quagmire of you have nowhere else to go, so you're forced to vote for that particular candidate. Jimmy Dore is making this point to you that as long as you feed that, that's what you're going to get. If you continue to do what you've always done, you continue to get what you've always gotten. That's his point. Stop doing the exact same thing. Your voice or your power in this is to pull yourself out of that process, to say no, to make them lose. It is a difference between a Democrat and a Republican losing in an election. The difference is that the key difference is from your political space, where you stand on the political map, is that when that party loses, one of two things is going to happen. That party is going to reshuffle itself, or it's going to try to do the exact same thing that it's done in the past, believing that it has not exhausted this ability or this idea of you have nowhere else to go. It has not exhausted that political space. The point is to exhaust that political space, to get it across that that argument, the way the party is fundamentally arranged, will not continue to allow them to win elections and to garner votes. Now, you may say that's strategic voting and everything else, but the fact is, if Hillary Clinton would have won the race, you're making the argument for why you should get accolades for voting for Hillary Clinton. I don't think that's brave. I don't think that's radical, but for whatever reason, you seem to believe that. You seem to believe it. Hillary Clinton in office and the left, and people who consider themselves on the left, go asleep. They go asleep. Meaning, once you have your Democratic functionaries in office, nobody is going to go at her in a primary. She's going to be in that office. And fact is, if Hillary Clinton is in that office, she privatizes Social Security. She passes the TPP. She puts troops in Syria, potentially shooting down a Russian plane. And mind you, shooting down a Russian plane earlier because Donald Trump may actually end up doing that himself. What are you going to say when in 2020 she's running against Ted Cruz? Yeah, she's done all these things that we absolutely hate as lefties, but it's Ted Cruz, so you got to vote for the Democrat again. This goes on in perpetuity, by the way, under your model of thinking. The one concentration camp less Sam Seder model of thinking of this stuff. Now, let's let him keep going.
Tweet, and I think this is a real one. I think before he had a George Orwell tweet, which wasn't actually an Orwell tweet.
Yep.
This is a Chomsky tweet that says any dictator would admire the uniformity and the obedience of the U.S. media. And I can only imagine that Chomsky was talking about people like me who advocated not voting like a fucking child during the campaign. I'm sure that Jimmy thinks that Noam is smart. Here's what Noam Chomsky had to say a couple of weeks after the election, that noted corporate shill and sellout. Noam Chomsky.
What's your message to those voters today who refuse to vote for Trump or refuse to vote to stop Trump? What's your message to them now that he's won and he's in the White House?
Same as before. I think they're making a bad mistake. First of all, there are two issues. One is a kind of a moral issue. Do you vote against the greater evil if you don't happen to like the other candidate? The answer to that is yes, if you have any moral understanding. You want to keep the greater evil out. Second is a factual question. How do Trump and Clinton compare? And I think they're very different. I didn't like Clinton at all, but her positions are much better than Trump's on every issue I can think of.
What a fucking corporate sellout. Noam Chomsky's a fucking coward, and this is why people don't subscribe to his YouTube channel. No one listens to him because he's a fucking corporate sellout. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton, and he just said he loved there, she's the reason that Trump's the fucking president, and you still fucking talk, you dummy. Matt had pointed out that my personal fondness of Jimmy Dore, which, look, he was wrong during the election. And even that point that he makes that the next Trump will be worse. Look, voting is not your fantasy football draft. And Jimmy's whole analysis of the campaign was, in 2020, there'll be a much worse candidate who will beat Hillary, which is possible, but not certain. What we had was certain was what was in front of us, not in your fantasy scenario. And then that if Trump won, there would be a big uprising. And things like, Supreme Court picks could just be filibustered. And any other type of rational assessment of the election was just fear-based thinking. Now, here's the problem.
I think it was a little bit more to it than that, but even if we take that premise, let's take his premise at its face value. Let's say that those things were true. I remember what Jimmy Dore was talking about, and to add a little bit more context, when he was talking about saying Democrats could filibuster in the same way that Republicans did. One of the other guys, I can't remember his name, was like, no, Democrats wouldn't do that. And Demi Dore was making the point, but they could. Like, the party is this kind of weak, milquetoast thing that leans to the right for a reason. And that reason, for the most part, is that these guys are bribed to take certain positions. Dore's point is, they could do those things. If they had a spine, if they actually cared about something, they could do those things. They don't do those things because, for all intents and purposes, their donors don't want them to do those things. You could have a different party. The point is, this is the party that you have. And part of the reason that you have it is because you give it your support. You give it your support. You're terrified. You were terrified of Donald Trump. And yeah, Chomsky was terrified of Donald Trump. I don't blame Chomsky for being terrified of Donald Trump. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily right. I think Chomsky is a fucking amazing guy. I am not going to agree with Chomsky on everything, just like I don't agree with anybody on everything. The key point is, and look, I don't know if Jimmy Dore nailed those things down like that before the election. I don't remember him saying that there will be a revolution if Donald Trump takes office because of how bad Donald Trump is. I don't remember him saying that. But whether he said it or not, cowardice-based thinking was right. He was right. It was cowardice-based thinking. And the point of, yes, you need to look at this beyond one election cycle is right. He's right. He's absolutely right. I don't know what you're talking about. In that sense, he is absolutely right. When you're looking at an election, if you have a two-party system, how do you get that other party to change? How do you get it to change? You have nothing else around you that put pressure on it. It's not like back in the 40s or back in the 30s and the 40s, where you had, socialists and communists, and you had all of these other parties with unions pushing on the Democratic Party to behave a particular way towards workers and labor. And you had a Democratic Party that was receptive to that. This is not where we are. You're in a fundamentally different political space. There is nothing pushing on the party. In your reformist ideas, you believe that there is something else that is going to get the party to change. And I don't know what that something else is. The man at the door. If you choose to use the man at the door, is making them lose. Meaning, there's a level, there's a line that you refuse to go as a human being, as a voter. And the quagmire of a system that we have, where you have two parties and you have two maniacs and you're choosing the lesser of the maniacs, there is nothing in that system that allow that system to change. You're in a Chinese finger trap. And I know that sounds slightly racist, but that's what it's called. That's what it's called. You're going to get one maniac candidate after the next, after the next, after the next, because there's nowhere else to go in the political space. It is a death spiral. You're believing that because things in the past were a particular way, that those things could change in a better way. There were other factors in the past that allowed the political space to act as it is. These maniacs are going to keep coming. Ted Cruz is waiting in the wings, waving. Some other maniac is waiting in the wings. Again, Dore's not crazy on that point. Even if Hillary Clinton won, she would be going against Ted Cruz in 2020. Or somebody else, some other maniac in 2020. Honestly, when you look into the future of the politics, the political space, are you telling me that you don't see these crazies getting worse? And you don't see these crazies from the Republican standpoint? You don't believe that there's going to be another maniac waiting in the wings to take on whoever comes up? If you want that party to change, if you honestly want to get anything accomplished from a lefty political position, which I believe these guys do, why do you believe that continuously supporting the party that is against those aims is the way to accomplish that objective? You understand that you are being complicit, you are being enablers for the party to behave this way, and you have nothing else pushing on the party apparatus to get the things that you want to accomplish. As long as they can use the argument of you have nowhere else to go, and you say, I agree, then they don't have to do any of the things that you want. And this death spiral of one corporatist after the next, after the next, after the next will continue. Corporatist against the maniac. I don't consider Sam Seder and his crew to be neoliberal sellouts. I don't consider the Young Turks, for the matter, to be neoliberal sellouts. In the same way, I don't consider Hartman or none of these guys in that way. I think that these guys honestly want those things to be accomplished, meaning I think the vision that they want in regards to what the world will look like is very similar to mine, very similar to yours. But man, do I think that their strategy and their approach to doing this, I think it's wrong. Let them finish. I'm just making a point. I don't want this thing of this guy's a corporatist warmonger hack and so forth, so forth. And I know sometimes that language gets used. I don't think I've ever used that language in referring to any of the radio show hosts or any of the YouTubers. I don't think I have. I hope I haven't. I think people need to be very aware of the argument here. The argument here is not that these guys are hacks and sellouts and all this other stuff. The argument here that culminated in the election, meaning people voted for Hillary versus the people who didn't vote for Hillary, it really does boil down to this idea of revolt or reform. And at which level do you get to the point of saying, okay, I'm done. I'm done. He believes we haven't hit that point yet. He believes that persisting the system is the way it is the correct way of action. So let him make his argument, because that's ultimately the culminate. That's what this really boils down to in the argument here.
Among many. If your lane is really that American society needs a radical transformation, I don't even know what Jimmy truly wants. I know that we need to end capitalism. I know that we need to transition to economic democracy. I know that getting there is going to take all sorts of interventions, activism, politics, and things that don't involve presidential campaigns. Truly radical actions across the board and forms of solidarity. And then
Interject real quick. Do you mean radical actions like not voting for the corporatist hack, warmonger? Do you mean radical actions like that? Like radical actions of solidarity, like pulling yourself out of the political space? Can you imagine what's the effect of that? Meaning, what's the effect of millions of people pulling themselves out of the political space and refusing in solidarity to vote for a party if the party continues to behave the way that party behaves? What is the effect of that? Honestly, what's the effect of that? Do you think that party would change, or do you think that party would die? Radical actions goes beyond just these ideas of, let's get together in solidarity and let's go protest at Verizon. Let's raise our pitchforks at Verizon Wireless for net neutrality. No, I agree with you in a sense of getting rid of capitalism and all this other stuff. But what you told your audience, what the Young Turks told their audience, is the way to do that, is to vote for Hillary Clinton. Vote Hillary. Jimmy Dore's key point is the solidarity that you're looking for is the capacity to pull yourself out of the political space. Tell me this, other woman. If those people, like you and the Young Turks, in unison with other people who were screaming not to vote for Hillary Clinton, screamed not to do this, we're done. We're done. We're no longer being involved in this process. Your candidate lost anyway. And I know there was no way to see your candidate losing in the way that she lost. Trump couldn't beat a ham sandwich, but he beat your candidate. So fair enough. But what would have been the jarring effect on the party itself if she lost, in addition to having this mass amount of people saying we're done and meaning it? What would have been the effect? They had a unity commission. Why do you think they had a unity commission? Do you think they had a unity commission because there was actual unity? Or do you believe they had a unity commission because there was millions of people that ejected from the party? That's why they had the commission. They wanted to pull those people back into the political process. No, they didn't want to change anything. That's true. But the fact that those people left scared the shit out the party enough to have a unity commission. What would happen if people actually meant it? What would happen if people actually meant it? Meaning that they weren't so terrified of Republicans, that they weren't so cowardly, that they would automatically run back to the Democrats to be their protection. That's the point that Dore is making. That's the point that you fundamentally miss. The solidarity that you speak of is people in unison ejecting themselves from the political process. Donald Trump won anyway. He won anyway. Your voice would have been stronger if your voice was on that side of, you should not vote for this woman, you should not vote for these corporate hacks. At this point, we need to pull ourselves out the political process. And yes, I understand that Donald Trump is a maniac. I understand that Donald Trump is a problem. I get it. But by the same token, if you want to get anything accomplished, the door you have to walk through is the door of fear. And what I mean by that is the solidarity that you're looking for is this loud, clear voice, this clarion voice, as Joanne Reed said of Bernie Sanders. It's no. We're done. We're not playing this game. If you lose, you lose. But we're done. and to get it across in a way that is clear, that is resounding, and that is unequivocal. That they will lose. They will die as a party, maintaining the things that they maintain. That's Jimmy Dore's point. That's the point of the no argument. Now, your point is Donald Trump is a maniac, and oh my God, I'm terrified of Donald Trump, and I don't want to call it utter terror. I want to say that I was screaming and cried the night that Donald Trump won. I want to call it strategy. I want to call it strategy. Let's hear more of his strategy. Let's hear more.
I also know that what you do is you vote if there's an opportunity, as in Bernie Sanders' case, to actually advance things. That's the best case scenario. And then besides that, you vote to stop the bleeding. And you vote because
we did that. Just to be clear, we did that. We voted in that way. They cheated in that contest. They cheated in that contest. They undermined democracy. Representative government, you choose the people you want to represent you. They cheated in that process. Your response to that is, well, you still got to vote for the person who cheated you. Just saying, this is not the most manly of things.
actually, in reality, we know that in most cases, left resistance is built in places not of accelerationist horror, but in really bad conditions where there's a little bit of opening to push back. That's actually the context of the Russian Revolution, as an example. That's how it happened, because there were compromises. There was some weakenings in the system. Revolutionaries were able to seize on that. So intentionally saying, I'm going to take a situation, and by the way, this is not somebody who is saying in the middle of the country who's like, look, I've been fucked over by the political establishment. I've been abused by players on both sides, and I'm done. I'm through with it. I'm not voting. Or maybe I've been sucked in by the Trump scam, or maybe I'm doing a protest vote. I have no judgment for those people. No comment. But if you're a political commentator sitting on your ass in LA who doesn't do basic research and is playing with people's lives because of a fantasy scenario in your head about what could be, that has been debunked through every step of this administration, okay? Here's what's happened. No, there wasn't a filibuster on the Supreme Court. Gorsuch is there.
I don't know what he's talking about. To be clear, Jimmy Dore never said that this is going to take place. He's making this shit up out of whole cloth. I've never heard Jimmy Dore said Democrats are going to filibuster Gorsuch. I don't know what he's talking about. Talking about the person who don't do research. This is the fucking person who don't do research. No idea what he's talking about. Also, this thing that I don't blame some people who are in the middle of America who is hurt by his policies or whatever. But Jimmy Dore is sitting on his ass in LA while I sit on my ass somewhere else. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Because he's in a studio in LA? What do you know of Jimmy Dore's life? What do you know of Jimmy Dore's life? How do you know? How do you know? Explain to me, other woman. Explain to me. How do you know what Jimmy Dore's endured in his life? What do you know? That is a fucking amazing thing to say. I mean, he's sitting on his ass in LA. I mean, he's untouched. He's untouched by the horror that is American life. How do you know? I wasn't aware that you and Jimmy Dore were so close and you grew up together and you're boys in the way that you could understand that things that are affecting Jimmy Dore or has affected Jimmy Dore in his life. It's fucking amazing. It's a fucking amazing thing to say. Also, I understand you want to be reformist, but you can't change reality. The Russian Revolution wasn't done there were compromises here, there were compromises there. There were compromises at the very end, but there were two revolutions. There were weakenings in the system itself. And yeah, they took advantage of the weakenings in the system itself. There was a second revolution after the first revolution when people like you, reformists, who essentially wanted to reform and keep the same measure of government that was there prior. And there was another revolution on top of that revolution. Reformists, in some respects, are the problem. If you want solidarity, you can have solidarity with the people who believe they need to pull themselves out of political process. That's the solidarity we want. And when I say pull ourselves out of political process, I mean stop voting for people who are not representing your interests and be very loud and clear about what you want. This is what I want. You support my interests or you don't. If you support my interests, you can vote. This will be a line This line varies, person to person to person. But in no way does it any way reaches to Hillary Clinton. That is not a bad policy. And solidarity on something like that will get you a change in the political system. Either that party dies and something else will rise up in order to take advantage of the people who have those positions, or the party changes. You get one or the other. They will change to the degree that people will allow them, or they'll be able to get votes. I hope that makes sense. It's like if you have a bunch of people standing in one particular location, the party will move close enough to get just the right number of people who would actually fall in line and vote for the party itself. Meaning you're going to have certain enablers who are complicit with the way the party is. When those enablers leave, when those enablers get further away saying, we are not okay with the way the party system is, one or two things is going to happen. They're going to lose continuously to the point where they implode and something else will take their spot. Or they will change. They would move further in the direction that those people have said, this is where we stand, where we're not moving it from this place. Let's keep going. Come on.
There's cases coming down that will radically deepen the war on organized labor in this country, on public sector unions. You think there's going to be any type of left without Labor Party power in this country?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You believe that labor has flourished under Democratic Party rule? You understand that Obama had the opportunity to pass what is Employee Free Choice Act. He didn't pass it. He didn't pass it. Thanks for your support. Now I'm going to try to pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership that is going to bash you further still. What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about? You believe labor has a good deal with the Democrats right now as it stands. You honestly believe that? And you believe that you should be complicit in that. You believe that even though labor hasn't gotten anything out this deal, the Democratic Party pointed its finger and said, you have nowhere else to go. You better fall in fucking line and vote for Hillary Clinton. And they did. They tried to cajole their people to fall in line to vote for Hillary Clinton. And those people, a lot of them, woke up and said no. And they voted for Donald Trump. The sad part is that those people honestly believed that Donald Trump was going to be a better deal. Republican Party, who's completely antagonistic towards labor, they thought that that guy was going to be a better deal than Democrats. A blue-collar billionaire beat a corporatist warmonger. And yeah, both of them are corporatist warmongers, at the very least the way Trump has been behaving. And yes, Donald Trump is making the situation in Russia worse. But he ran to her left on stuff like that. Like, the point that Dore makes, and again, the point that you continuously miss, is that between the two parties, yes, the Republican Party is off the fucking political spectrum. Yes, you're right, I agree. Donald Trump is a maniac, I agree. But the party that's not supposed to be maniacs, the party that has any chance of getting anything accomplished, is the Democratic Party. That party is in no shape to get anything done. And part of the reason it is in no shape to get anything done is because it has come across this idea that we don't have to. We can serve our corporatist masters. We need to talk in a different way. No, we're not going to be as rapacious, but that's our selling point. That's our angle. Yes, we can be corporatist warmongers. And these people will vote for us because we're not going to be as bad as Republicans. We're going to be least worse. And that's what they've existed on. And they move further to the right because people have allowed them to move further to the right. Inch by inch, they normalize particular behaviors. So you finally get to the point where you look around and you get a Hillary Clinton that's on the Democratic ticket. And you call it strategy to do the same thing that you've always done. And you deride Jimmy Dore, who's saying, and right, by the way, I don't know anybody who's looking at this from a quote-unquote strategic point, election by election by election. When you're looking over the entire thing, and you're looking, saying, from one election to the next, this has gotten worse. And if you want to make sure anything gets better, you need, in the words of the other woman here, solidarity, and saying no. Of what do you believe activism has accomplished in regards to the space getting better? What do you believe unions have done in the space of getting things better? All of them have assiduously voted Democrat, and the Democratic Party says, thank you for your vote. Now go away. We'll take care of it. Yeah, they do take care of it. They take care of it for a particular interest. It's not the interest of the people who they're giving their votes, or those people who are conned into giving their votes away. Look, dude, all I'm saying is that Dore is not wrong on this point. Dore's not wrong on this point. He's not wrong at all. Let's keep going. There we are.
Without labor power, there's no left in the world that didn't have labor power. Now, did Democrats sell out labor and take corporate contributions? Absolutely. So your answer to a revanchist far right that's doing even more than any previous administration on labor is to go back into history and bitch about Democrats fucking up on that issue.
What are you talking about? This is the dumbest argument. Are you saying ancient history, like last term? Like the last Democratic term? Are you shitting me? Like when he's reviewing the Obama era, when he's reviewing the Clinton era, you're acting like that's ancient history. That's the last 2 Democratic presidents. What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about? Yes, he's bitching about what Democrats did when they were in power with regards to labor. Yes, what else is he going to use the bitch by? What else is he going to point to saying, this is what Democrats do when they get in power? They sell you out. They take your votes and they sell you out. That is his point. What is your issue with this argument? This issue is true. This answer, what he's saying, is flat out true. He doesn't have to go back to ancient history. He can go into the last administration. He can go into the last Democratic administration from that. Those are the 2 last Democratic administrations. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea. Look forward, not looking back. We're not going to prosecute the fact that Bush went into a country and killed 1 million people because, that's in the past. That's in the last administration. What are you talking about? This is crazy talk. This is absolute crazy talk. I'm going to let him finish, but this is crazy talk. This is the dumbest argument I've heard on this.
Who care about actually achieving
He's the actual left.
Fighting all of these fronts.
He said he was the actual left.
But actually, in fact, focusing now on the main threat. I said if you were in a swing state, vote for Hillary because I wanted to keep the main threat and the main problem be those fucking neoliberals and corporatists that we do have to defeat, not galloping fascists. But you know what? It's a good business model.
And how has that gone for you, buddy? How is that going for you? How long have your show been on? I would imagine your show has been on for a while. You believe that proceeding the way that you're proceeding is somehow going to get you some different result. Is that what I'm to understand? The real left. The brave and radical left that votes for Hillary Clinton and supports the Democratic establishment fucking over the actual left. It's amazing. The real left.
Outrage is a good business model, and it's easy click content. Why figure out a Supreme Court ruling when you can endlessly bitch about an MSNBC segment? Why do strategy that points out that, of course, Obama had an obscene record on deportations, and Trump is worse, when you can do, 10 segments on how when Kamala Harris supported single payer, but she didn't say it with the right amount of enthusiasm?
Or when Kamala Harris's department wanted to keep inmates in prison longer because California didn't necessarily want to pay a basic or a main wage. Because, if they're inmates, you can pay them 34 cents an hour, 30 cents an hour. Or that her department wanted to keep inmates in longer so they can fight forest fires. There's that too. Or that Kamala Harris was perfectly on board for this idea of having cops steal people's property. Didn't want to implement this idea of having the cameras for cops. Oh, there's a lot you can hit one Kamala Harris with. His point in doing that you again fundamentally miss, intentionally or otherwise, is that Democrats are not your saviors. It is an amazing thing to sit here and make an argument where you're honestly agreeing with them. Say, yes, I agree with this. I agree with this. I agree with this. And the solution to this is to continue to vote for Democrats. Jimmy Dore's point is that is not your solution. They are not your saviors. They are not the things that are going to get you a difference or change in the way your society is arranged. That's his point. His point is right. His point is right. I don't know what you're talking about. You have this thing where you're angry at the content that he plays on his show. It's like, we need him to bash Trump more. You're not bashing Trump sufficiently for us. Explain to me, what is the sufficient amount of bashing of Trump that you on the Sam Seder show require? What's that amount? His point is Democrats are the problem. They're not your saviors. That's his point. Again, you fundamentally miss it. And I don't understand why you need Jimmy Dore to bash Trump to some esoteric degree. You can get that on MSNBC, you can get it on CNN, you can get it on Sam Seder show, you can get it on Cenk Uygur show. How much bashing Trump do you require?
This is middle school gossip and your fantasy life. It's not politics. I was on Jimmy's show once, and he was doing this riff before the election. And I went with him on a lot of this shit. Yeah, Hillary was terrible. Hillary was terrible in war. She was terrible in corporations. She had a terrible record on everything from race to welfare. We know this. And then I would just drop these seeds. Well, difference, Iran deal. There's a difference. DACA. And I remember one time he goes, yeah, you're right on the DACA. That's true.
By the way, to be clear, my argument here is that there's not any difference between Democrats and Republicans. Their business model is, we're least worse. That is their business model. So that business model has to have something in it that's least worse. The Iran deal, yeah, was least worse. Obamacare was least worse. I'm saying, at which point do you get sick of least worse and want something that represents your interests, what you want? Even if it's not a perfect representation of your interests, you honestly believe, if you're an actual lefty, that Hillary Clinton was a person to represent your interests in any way. Yes, she would have been least worst in the specific individual context of a single election. But if you want to get anything done, that least worst is going to continue to get a little bit more and a little bit more worse. Because people like you decide that you're okay voting for this. The moment that people like you say, okay, this is enough. This is enough. One concentration camp less is too much. It's enough. The moment that you get on board saying no, it changes. Not necessarily overnight, because they're going to test whether your no is real or not. But at a certain point, that party either dies or the party either changes. In the same way that your crack-addicted alcoholic either dies or changes. In both cases, you need not be complicit, and you need not to be an enabler. There are real issues. There are large issues. And I agree, Donald Trump is going to be a fucking menace. But the fact is that the thing that you have in your society, this two-party system, the thing that you have to change, you don't have anything pressing on the apparatus in the same way that you had back in the 40s and the 50s. The thing that you have is saying no. A solidarity in saying no. It's nice. It feels good to go out and protest that Verizon because of the net neutrality. It feels good to go out and protest at some kind of oil pump or whatever. But it's a different thing to stand in political solidarity saying, we're not on board with the way this party has behaved. And we're not going to be complicit and give it our vote as if it's our approval. They don't have our approval. We don't like this. Yes, they're going to lose. Yes, they're going to lose. Yes, they're going to be bad shit that takes place. But the question becomes, from the overall political landscape, what's better? Continuously being complicit and saying, it doesn't matter what you do, you're still going to get our vote. Versus no. Versus no. I would make the case that your political strategy is exponentially wrong. It's just wrong. It doesn't work. You're in this quagmire, this Chinese finger trap. And yes, like I said before, I know that's slightly racist. But you have a game being played where one party can be batshit crazy and another party can be moderately not crazy. And it uses it. Yeah, we can do corporate interests and all that stuff now because we're less worse. This other party are maniacs. You don't want those maniacs in office. We're less worse. It's a game being played. You have nothing pressing on the apparatus. This game being played changes when you put pressure on the apparatus, and in this case from inside it, meaning the capacity to say, no, I don't want to repeat myself, but come on. Let him finish. It's almost over.
Donald Trump did slightly increase his margin with Hispanic voters. I think a lot of that has to do with many Hispanic voters being American citizens who were also brought in by his economic scam. I don't think, as Jimmy speculated later in that video, that people who were enraged at Obama's deportations voted to punish Obama by voting for the most overtly xenophobic presidential candidate in modern history. Just a thought. Dude, if you want to do politics, you got to fucking understand the issues. It's not all just emotions and fantasy life.
I got to be honest, and to be fair to him, I have no idea what he is talking about. On a lot of this stuff, I have no idea what he's talking about. Attacking Jimmy Dore because he doesn't believe this. The other woman doesn't believe that Jimmy Dore suffered enough to give his spill in the way that he's given his spill. I wasn't aware that these guys were buddies in that way. This is just a weird attack on Dore. I could see if he's attacking the political position. I could see that. That makes sense to me. Why are you attacking whether the guys suffered enough? That's bizarre. That's extremely bizarre. And saying he doesn't know the issues, what is the thing that you believe he's missing? I don't understand. Even if you say you think he's wrong. Okay, you think he's wrong. I think you're wrong. Okay, what? What? Like, what do you think he's... I guess what I'm saying is, the argument that he's making here is Jimmy Dore is dumb because Jimmy Dore doesn't necessarily get the issues. But he's not explaining to me what issues that he believes Jimmy Dore is not getting. If you say that Jimmy Dore said they were going to bring about the revolution. I don't remember Jimmy Dore saying it was going to bring about the revolution. But okay, even if you say that. Okay, that may be a little hyperbolic. But so what? What does that have to do with Jimmy Dore knowing the issues? If you're saying that Jimmy Dore said that they're going to filibuster Gurish, I think you're lying on that. You need to produce that video. You need to produce that video. If it's a video that I think you're talking about. Jimmy Dore never said that they're going to do that Democrats are going to filibuster Gurish. Jimmy Dore in his right mind would never believe that. What Jimmy Dore said was they could do that. You went on a whole riff about something that didn't exist. I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? I can understand that you don't like Jimmy Dore calling you a dum-dum. Fair enough. Your feelings are hurt. I get it. I get it. He hurt your feelings. You thought you were bros, and he says something that hurts your feelings. But attacking whether or not the guy suffered enough is weird, and I don't think adds anything to your argument. Attacking a position that didn't take place, meaning you're saying that he's talking about they were going to filibuster Gurish. You believe that the guy who thinks Democrats are profoundly weak is going to believe that Democrats are also, at the exact same time of thinking they're profoundly weak, going to stand up for Gurish. No, he said they could. There's a difference between they could and they were. So that's made out of whole cloth. Your argument here is Jimmy Dore doesn't know the political issues, and you have failed to make that argument. That's what I'm getting at. You failed to make that argument. In addition to crying, this weird way of trying to bolster and own up to the reason that you voted for Hillary Clinton. That's ultimately the basis of this entire conversation. Let's let me keep going. Oh, and as for DACA, I don't know if people made the decision like the Hispanics that voted for Donald Trump. I don't know if the Hispanics that voted for Donald Trump did so because they were trying to punish the other administration by voting for I don't know about that. Jimmy Dore could be wrong on that. But I don't know that. And even here, he hadn't looked it up himself to see if that was the whole thing. He's like, Jimmy Dore needs to do research. But I think that Jimmy Dore may be wrong on this point. But I don't know. I just think that's funny. Let's let him finish.
Or if you want to do emotions in fantasy life, then own it and just do critique, and that's great. But don't call people who actually care about the process and bother to do some fucking research dummies because they look at things a little bit structurally. It's an easy hustle. It's an easy market. It's an easy game.
That look at things structurally. He made my point for me. Reformers. The structure is in place. We need to use the structure that's in place. And so, yeah, we believe that we need to vote for, as lefties, owning to the fact that I believe that these guys are lefties. And from the position of a lefty, voting for a corporatist warmonger who's probably going to get us in another war. I need you to do that. We will look at things more structurally. Now, to be fair to this guy, I have been writing him as a other woman because I don't like him calling Jimmy Dore dum-dum. I'm culturally broken in that way. He does have a point. He does have a point. And that's the reason why the entirety of this video, I kind of made this thing of being very clear where the divide is. The divide is not necessarily where you guys want to end up. The divide is how you get to that particular place. This guy looks at it more structurally, more, here's the system that's in place. We need to use the system that's in place to somehow get some different result that we've never gotten. Versus, no, the system that's in place is a problem. The system itself is a problem. The way the system, the way it's structured, this is a problem. It needs to change. I'm not looking at this structurally. I think the structure needs to be abandoned and abolished. That's the argument. That's the argument. You can't throw Sam Seder away. You can't throw the Young Turks away. You can't throw Tom Hartman away. You can't throw them away, at least not entirely. You can be aware of their biases. You can be aware that these guys are ultimately reformers and that they're going to ultimately push somewhat of a democratic line. You can be aware of all those things. But if you get what you want, meaning if you get the political space and latitude that you want, these guys will be on your side. These guys will be on your side. Let him finish. He almost is done.
But it's not contributing to anything. It's not going to help us win. And to me, it seems like, if anything, at this point, this is helping Trump. If we have to fight neoliberals, we have to fight Trump, we have to fight establishment Democrats, we have to deal with the corporate hegemony, we have to deal with ideological conformity of a global elite, do we really need to spend our time on YouTube just giving people dumb emotional releases? Or actually help them think about how they actually get power? And I know that was spoken like a true fucking corporate sellout.
No, I don't think it was spoken like a true corporate sellout. I think it was spoken like somebody who believes that the way the system is set up, we need to function within this specific system. Completely forgetting the fact that he's normalized to the system that he's in. The system was not always this way. Yeah, the guy's a reformer. He's part of the reformer camp. I want to use the system the way it is to try to get some result that we've never gotten in the system being this way. Not realizing that you're in a different political space, man. That's all I'm saying. That idea that voting for least worse in perpetuity is going to get you something. I have no idea why you believe that. There is nothing pushing on the political space to do those things. The only thing that you have is political solidarity and pulling yourself out of the system. If you had millions of people to leave the system itself, what you wanted, meaning from a political standpoint, would be more ideal and more likely. Because at that point, you're forming almost a political union saying, no, this is not what we want. We want something fundamentally different. Having to go at Jimmy Dore saying that Jimmy Dore doesn't supply anything to the process is disingenuous at best. I mean, there are people who are pissed off. And for whatever reason, your need to go after Trump, it's just perpetuity. We must talk about Trump. We must talk about Trump. We must talk about Trump. As if these other industries don't always talk about Trump. No, you need to also simultaneously have the conversations about why Trump is in that office, meaning the failures of the Democratic Party. And if you're just going to, at every moment, oh, we're so terrified. We're so terrified. We got to vote for Donald Trump. And then you're going to go after Jimmy Dore saying it's just an emotional release. Fact is, the strategy, as you want to call it, of looking over things more than one political session, more than one political cycle, is crucial to getting anything accomplished. I understand that looking at things from your standpoint, at one cycle after the next, I understand that you believe that looking at things in those one specific instances is the end all and be all of the world. For whatever reason, I don't know why you believe that. There will be another political cycle, and another, and another. You in no way hit Jimmy Dore's point of the capacity to look beyond one political cycle to try to get things accomplished. Didn't touch it at all. Didn't even try to hit that particular point. And the other points, like I said before, are somewhat weird in the way that you go after them. If your main argument, or the thrust of your argument, is Donald Trump is a maniac, I would agree with you. If the thrust of your argument that Jimmy Dore should talk more about Donald Trump, I think you're insane. You have all these other industries that talk about Trump. I don't know why you need one more person to do so. If the rest of your argument is, we have to fight neoliberals, we have to fight this, we have to fight that, and I think you're helping Donald Trump. Jimmy Dore's values are clear. What he wants is clear. What he says he wants is very clear. I don't know how you can look at his show and not understand what he wants. His argument is policy. That's what he's arguing. His arguing is impassioned. Yes, his argument, it should be impassioned because these things affect real people. But there's nobody who could look at the Jimmy Dore show and be just not understanding the things that he's pushing for. So I have no idea what even that last argument meant, that he's helping Donald Trump. Yes, Democrats are a problem. Yes, Republicans are a problem. His point is that the issue is both. The issue is not one or the other. And for whatever reason, again, you don't touch that particular argument. You continue to miss the main thrust of his arguments. But I let him give a spiel. And I've said before, if any of these guys want to have this conversation on the soapbox about this thing of why voting for Hillary Clinton was the awesomest thing in the world to do, and that supporting Democrats is this awesomest thing to do, and we must reform the system is this awesome thing to do, and what strategy? He's saying strategy. He continuously uses this word without actually making any sense on this. What strategy is he talking about? And the only strategy that it sounds like to me is you must continue to vote for Democrats and you must continue to work within the system because this is the way we believe in getting things done. If that's what you want, own it. Fair enough. Fine. If that's what you want, own it. But there are people who don't believe that. And if you're calling Jimmy Dore a dum-dum because he doesn't necessarily believe that, I have yet to hear you make your point, even though your entire point has been Jimmy Dore doesn't know politics, Jimmy Dore is this, Jimmy Dore is that. You've made none of those points. You've made none of those points. If I am wrong on this, if he has made those points, spell them out. But I am unaware of the points that he's made. And again, I think it's weird to attack Jimmy Dore saying he hasn't suffered enough in order to make some of the arguments that he's made. Look, if you want to give your spiel, however you give your spiel, in this kind of, here you must vote for Hillary Clinton for these reasons, and I'm saying this in a monotone way, and blah, 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 then that's you. If Jimmy Dore wants to be impassioned in the way he gives it, he can be impassioned in the way he gives it. That's him. Neither one of those things matter. It's contextual to the person. But you haven't touched this point. You haven't touched Jimmy Dore's point at all. So I will leave this at this. This went far longer than I wanted this to go. I have a video coming up with the same progressive next. So that should be damn interesting. And again, man, this is not an attack on Seder's show or anything else. I made this point that there's a distinction between what these guys want in a grand scheme of things versus the way they think that they need to get it. I just disagree fundamentally with the way they think they need to get it. I just want that point to be clear. I don't want people throwing people away just because they think, oh, this guy did this, so this guy's just off the reservation, etc. I would prefer to have... I know this is bad saying this at the very end, because I've derided the guy the entire video. But these shows need to be in tandem. All of these shows need to be in tandem. If you want something at the very end of things, meaning we can war, we can spar, we can fight, we can bitch at one another over how to get there. But the overarching goal, meaning where we want to end up, we should work together. Like I said, I know it's a little weird after deriding the guy the old video calling him the other woman. But I've said before, man, Sam Seder's show was part of my political awakening. And Tom Hartman, again, part of my political awakening. Young Turks, part of my political awakening. At some point, yeah, there's been a divergence, clearly. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what they want as an end result is different than what we want as an end result. And because of that, there needs to be times where we work together. And in fact, we need to work in tandem. So I'll leave it at that. If you guys enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys.